Der Lamp.
Junge, kurz vor knapp wirklich.
Schick mal den Link, ey. Achso, da, ich hab den Link, nevermind.
Oh mein Gott, es geht los, Digga.
Gönn dir Ollum, gönn dir.
Saigun, vielen Dank für den ersten Sub auch an dich.
Gönn dir Ollum,
geht raus.
gönn dir doch.
Okay, also Leute, ich selber habe noch nie Path of Exile gespielt. Ich habe hier ein paar Experten im Discord, die Path of Exile Mains sind. Alle von denen, alle 5. Osaf, Jambo, Ayib, Morris und Sonic. Sonic sogar aus dem Urlaub in der Türkei, guckt sich das jetzt hier gemeinsam mit uns an. Und in dieser ExileCon werden wahrscheinlich Informationen gegeben für die nächste Season, die im August kommt, Mitte August. Und vielleicht sogar für Path of Exile 2, das sagen uns die Jungs gleich. Ich wechsle hier die Kategorie auch mal auf Path of Exile. Ich selber habe es, wie gesagt, noch nie gespielt, aber ich hoffe, die Jungs haben da Ahnung.
Let's take a moment to check out Path of Exile from the past.
Aber die Steigerung ist halt heftig, Mann.
Digga, ich hab Werbung kassiert, Mann.
Rally war ich halt nicht dabei, ich war erst 2014 also dabei.
Ich pack mir Kohle drauf schnell.
2012 war's bei mir.
Chat, wer von euch hat schon Path of Exile gespielt? Plus in den Chat, minus falls nicht. Wieso nur 10 Minuten?
Weil er nach 10 Minuten den Skilltree aufgemacht hat.
Leute, werden die hier auch was zu Path of Exile 2 sagen?
Ja.
Das wird das meiste sein.
Es gibt auch noch 30 Minuten Gameplay von PoE 2.
Echt jetzt?
Ja. 3-mal heute sogar noch. Von bekannten Streamern.
Es geht ja bis 8 Uhr morgens heute. Oder 7 Uhr.
Morgen geht's auch noch weiter, oder?
Legion.
Ja, nochmal. Irgendwie 8 Stunden.
Könnt ihr das kommentieren, Jungs, für Leute, die das noch nie gespielt haben?
Was willst du da kommentieren?
Ja, Morris sagt Legion und ich habe gar keine Ahnung. Meint er damit Legion Raids in Lost Ark oder was meint er damit?
Nee, das ist der Name der League gewesen, was es jetzt heißt. Steht auch oben links. Das sind immer die League-Mechanics.
Ja, das heißt, ja.
Spezifisch.
Okay, ich hab Delay, 10 Sekunden.
Das ist basically das, wo Diablo reinkackt, Bro.
Oh, meine Lieblings-League-Mechanik, bitte.
Oh, Expedition.
Ich hoffe, die bringen Ultimatum zurück, Mann. Das wäre richtig nice.
Ich habe Ultimatum geliebt, das war so geil.
Oh, das war auch richtig insane.
2 Minuten hast du dir was getroffen.
Jetzt zweimal hintereinander am Laptop.
Sonics Stimme ist so komisch, ne? In seinem komischen Dosenmikrofon.
Ja. Oh.
Path of Exile 2, Act 1 Trailer, okay.
Oh mein Gott.
Ist das Philips behinderter Bruder?
Ja, das sieht echt gut aus.
Fühlt sich wie ein Außenseiter in der Gruppe? Ja. Absolut.
Ich glaube, wir nehmen dich in unsere Reihen auf.
Aber ich sag mal so, also die Grafik hier sieht echt schön aus, ne?
Mann.
Echt sehr, sehr krass. Ja. Die Skills sind alle so flashy und so, das ist echt krass.
Was ist jetzt Nigama Kanui Teaser?
Das sind die 2 Teaser, die im Voraus schon kamen. Vor 1 oder 2 Monaten.
Expertise ist was?
Bossen.
Was ist eine Expertise, Sonic?
Das sind die 2 Teaser.
Ach, Teaser, sorry.
Rauskamen im Voraus.
Oh, da ist er!
Oh mein Gott, ich liebe ihn.
Das Content.
Oh, wie geil der aussieht, Bro.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear
Ich spiele wieder das Spiel.
Welcome to ExileCon 2023. It feels like just yesterday that I was here on stage at ExileCon 2019 announcing Path of Exile 2.
Letztes Mal war auch krass.
Since then, we have worked tirelessly on the content we're going to show you this weekend. To everyone here in person, thank you so much for coming out to join us. It honestly feels so good to know that people love Path of Exile so much that they fly across the world to come and celebrate it with us in person here. I really hope you have a great trip and make the most of your time in New Zealand. Our last ExileCon was a magical experience, and we've tried to go above and beyond in every way this time. If you're tuning in online to watch the live stream, thanks for joining us also. I wish you could all be with us here, but to ensure you have the full ExileCon experience, we have made sure to include every talk and session as part of the 2-day live stream this weekend.
Leute, wieso lieben wir Chris Wilson? Wieso lieben wir ihn?
Weil er eine geile Glatze hat.
Ey, wieso lieben wir ihn?
Digga, guck mal, wie geil der aussieht, Bro. Das ist Daddy Wilson, Digga.
Share with you this weekend, and let's
halt
just
der
get
Chef
right
von
into Path of
Grinding
Exile
Gear.
2.
Also die
I'd like to
Publisher.
introduce Jonathan
Warte, hat er
Rogers.
bei Diablo gearbeitet und hat dann gewechselt?
Path of Exile 2.
Keine Ahnung, nicht, dass ich wüsste.
Sagt der Chat
Der
gerade.
PoE nicht so gut.
Weil er ja weiß, dass man nicht macht.
Hey guys. While Chris has been running Path of Exile 1, Mark and I and over 100 other developers have been hard at work on PoE 2. And honestly, the project has become much bigger than we expected when we announced it in 2019. It's been almost 4 years since then, and so it's about time we showed you what we've been working on. Oh, hang on. Okay. Sorry, I forgot. Okay. When we announced Path of Exile 2 at ExileCon 2019, we told you guys that we were releasing it as an expansion to PoE 1 and that both campaigns would be playable in the same game client with a shared endgame. But PoE 2's scope has continued to grow and grow, and it's far more than just an expansion with a new campaign. It has entirely new monsters, skills, mechanics, classes, everything you'd expect from the next generation of action RPGs. Not to mention revamps of most of the PoE 1 League content. This thing is just freaking huge. There was a point when we realized that our plan to replace PoE 1 with PoE 2 would essentially be getting rid of a game that people love for no real reason. So we made a decision. Path of Exile 1 and 2 will be separate with their own mechanics, balance, endgames, and leagues. But it's still a shared platform.
Wieso wackelt denn da so links und rechts wie so eine Pendeluhr? Beide?
Weil er nervös scheiße ist.
Wie diese beiden zwei Kugeln, die immer links und rechts schwingen.
You can't transform into a bear in PoE 1, so a reskin of your bear form isn't going to work. But you absolutely can equip the awesome armor set that you got and use all your stash tabs. So with that in mind, we'd love to show you a live demo of some of the stuff we've been working on. PoE 2 has come a long way. Mark here is going to man the PC. Hopefully he doesn't die. It is a live gameplay demo after all.
Ja, aber 2 separate Games, das ist schon wieder Take.
Ja, Mann, auf jeden Fall.
Ich fand das geiler, wenn es ein Game ist, man hatte die Wahl.
Ja, Mann.
Wahrscheinlich dich einfach
Wie
entscheiden.
2 separate Games? Erklärt mal.
1 und 2 wird gleichzeitig laufen.
Wir haben 2
The
separate
gods
Leagues
caused all
jeweils.
this, you know.
Die Games
Wieso will man das haben?
After Oriath was destroyed,
Also
I
wieso-
Weil
traveled,
PoE 2 zu groß
searching
geworden
for
ist, in
answers.
deren Augen.
Everywhere
als dass es
I
nur so eine
went,
Expansion
the
sein sollte.
same divine devastation.
Hat er gerade gesagt.
It must end. I will end it. And no exile will stop me.
Zeigt er jetzt Content von Path of Exile 2?
Ja.
Witch? Gibt's auch einen Wizard? Kann man Gender selber auswählen?
Nein. Die Klassen haben fertig.
Also genderlocked.
Ja.
Chat, was halten wir von genderlocked Games? Chat?
Chris.
Ah, Bowl.
Ja, es gibt ja irgendwie 19 neue Assets. 23.
für jeden Ball, glaube ich, mehr, also doppelt.
Jesus.
Ist Path of Exile 2 eigentlich 1:1 die gleiche Story wie Path of Exile 1?
Nee, wird eine neue Story. Aber man kann die alte auch noch spielen, also die Kampagne.
Das sind Kampagnen, das ist insane.
Ich war ja das schon mal mit der HP-Anzeige, die ganze Zeit an.
Gibt es in Path of Exile ein German Language Pack?
Nein. Wer das auf Deutsch spielt, ist lost.
Nein, also jetzt wirklich, geht es auf
Die
Deutsch?
ganzen Add-ons klappt noch gar nicht.
Also 1 geht auf Deutsch.
Das tut aber weh beim
Aber
Zugucken.
funktionieren die ganzen Add-ons und Tools? Ich weiß
Sagt
gar nicht,
ihr, Path of Exile 2 wird mein erstes englisches Spiel?
Ja.
Ja.
Ich kann die Zusatz nicht gucken, das geht nicht.
100 Bosse.
Digga, was ist das für ein Skilltree? Was ist das für ein Skilltree, Lad?
Das war der Passive Tree.
6 Personen Koop?
This world
LOL, wir sind hier
will
6
be
Leute im
reborn,
Voice.
No matter the
Fortune.
cost.
Ich liebe dieses Intro, Junge.
Ich bin mal gespannt, was jetzt das Live-Gameplay ist.
So, ist kurz weg.
Path of Exile ist ein ARPG wie Diablo, ja.
Alright, Mark. Your turn now. Welcome to Path of Exile 2. We'd like to start off by showing you some of the gameplay of Act 3, one of the 6 acts in PoE 2's campaign. We're starting here in the jungle depths. Act 3 is set in
Digga,
the
soll mal
ruins
aufhören so
of a
zu
vile
pendeln, Digga.
civilization which fell thousands of years ago.
Mir wird schwindelig.
Jungle has taken over their former once great cities, and we'll be exploring it using one of the 6 new character classes called the Monk. In PoE 1,
Oha, Sonic,
we
der
have one
Monk,
character class
für
for each of
dich?
the combinations of strength, dexterity, and intelligence. When looking at the design of PoE 2, though, we realized that many of the new skills that we were trying to design just didn't really fit thematically with the existing classes that we have. Being a spellcaster with a bear form makes sense for Strength Int, but it just doesn't really sound like something a Templar would do. We realized that since we had new mechanics for every attribute combination, it actually made sense to design a new character class to explore the new themes. In PoE 2, every attribute combination has 2 classes associated with it. Strength Int has the Templar or the Druid. On Dexterity, you have the Ranger or the more spare-focused Huntress. And on Dex Int, you have the Shadow and the Monk, which Mark is playing here. Each class has its own 3 ascendancies that let you further specialize the class in a way that only that class has access to, but they both start at the same location on the passive tree. The quest rewards you are offered on the 2 variants are tailored to the class, but of course, this is PoE. You can still mix and match anything to your heart's content.
Wo sieht man sein Level?
Einer über die XP-Leiste hovern würde.
Looks like we've come across the boss for this area. In PoE 2, every area
Was denkt ihr, welches Level er hat gerade hier?
of at least this difficulty. That's over 100 bosses
3, oder?
as you make your way through the campaign.
Ist das Akt 3, ja, ne? Oder?
Ja. Ich denke mal 30.
Vielleicht ja 30.
Und Max-Level ist 100, ne?
Ja. Das dauert aber, bis man da ist. Dann wird sehr viel am Anfang.
War krank, die Grafik aus.
Auch das Environment.
As you've been watching from Mark fighting here, you probably noticed that melee combat in PoE 2 is a very different feel than before. We've done a lot of things to add mobility to combat. Practically every melee skill in PoE 2 has some kind of movement built into it. But the Monk in particular is a melee fighter who specializes in mobility over brute strength.
Wenn der gefreezed ist, wie gut das ist. Hallo, den Fünfmehl brauchst du nicht.
So, as Mark has been playing, you might have noticed these blue markers over enemies. Mark has a skill equipped called Killing Palm. Whenever an enemy has a blue indicator over it, it means that the monster has low enough life to cull with Killing Palm. Successfully executing the cull will give you a power charge. This is an important skill for the monk since many of his skills interact with power charges. One of the great things about the skill is that it has a built-in dash forward, which makes it much easier to target the skill right at the point where you need it. We've done a huge amount of work in PoE 2 to make using skills like this feel satisfying. If you're accidentally targeting slightly off the monster, the skill will automatically lock on to the colorable target, and it will even do a small amount of pathfinding around obstacles. We really want to make sure that when you've got an opportunity to use the skill, nothing is going to get in your way. Once you have some power charges, you're going to need some skills to power up. A great follow-up is Falling Thunder. Falling Thunder without a power charge just creates a relatively small lightning AoE in front of you. But if you do it with power charges, it turns into a pack clearer with a large number of extra projectiles. One thing to notice here is that, like almost every melee skill in PoE 2, Falling Thunder has a little bit of extra movement built in, just in case you need it. Use the skill within range and you just do the flip in place. But use it at a larger range and your character will move forward while executing it, getting you into position without any time penalty. In PoE 2, you also get a short period to redirect your target. Notice how you can start the skill facing one way, then whip the mouse sideways to land the skill in a different direction? Now, in order to get power charges, you're going to first need to get some lower life monsters into a colorable range. You've got a few options if you want to charge right in. Whirling Assault is great. It doesn't do much damage per hit, but it covers a lot of ground. And notice how you can turn as you do it? Generally speaking, you never lose control of your character in PoE 2. If you make a turn at the right time, you can get a couple of extra hits on the monsters, getting them in range of your cull. Follow up with a Killing Palm and then finish off the rest of the pack with your Falling Thunder. We've now entered the Vaal Mechanarium. This is the place where the Vaal built the various constructs that they relied on to power their civilization.
Diese ganzen Maps habt ihr auch noch nie gesehen?
Nee.
A Vaal ruin that hasn't been looted?
Oh nein, Alva.
I wonder why nobody's been in here before.
Habt ihr gesehen, das
One useful
Gold
feature we've added is the
Inventar?
ability
Das
to
ist ein
call on
Item und
NPCs to
keine
where you are
Currency.
to give you more information or help you with quest objectives,
okay.
rather than always having to go back to town.
Currency oder so?
In this case, we've called in Alva to find out what to do.
Transmute.
This mechanism, if powered with a small soul core, it could open that door. There should definitely be soul cores somewhere around here. They had to power these constructs somehow.
As Alva just said, we need to find a small soul core to open this door. Let's explore. If you want to shave off some life without getting too close to some of the more dangerous monsters, a great option is Wind Blast. Wind Blast also doesn't do too much damage, but it keeps enemies back. The closer they are, the farther they're pushed back, so it's a great option for keeping smaller but higher damage enemies at bay. Note that the bigger the enemy is, the less they'll be pushed back, so trying to push back some giants isn't going to be as effective.
Die halten das immer sehr minimalistisch, um nicht zu viel zu zeigen.
And there's the soul core. Let's get back to the door.
Also dieser Culling-Skill ist echt krass. Vor allem, dass er auch autopatht und so.
Mhm. Path of Exile ist free to play, ja. Du hast nur kosmetische Items, die du kaufen kannst. Gibt es sowas wie einen Season Pass, Leute, den man kaufen kann?
Ja. Auch nur kosmetisch.
Now, if you need to defeat tougher enemies, it might be time to break out some of the ice skills in the monk's arsenal. Glacial Cascade creates a wave of ice that moves slowly in front of the player. It's pretty ineffective against fast-moving monsters because most of the damage occurs right at the end of the wave.
Was kostet ein Season Pass in PoE aktuell? 30?
Ja, ist aber absolut useless, wirklich.
Okay.
Wenn du es schön findest, kaufst es, aber der ist nicht nötig.
A fairly simple option is to get right in the monster's face with Ice Strike. Ice Strike doesn't do too much damage at the first two hits, but attacks 3 times in sequence and
Gibt
you
es
can
in
get off a
PoE
combo
auch
that has a much
PvP?
higher chance to freeze.
Ja,
Get in there with the freeze, then roll back and finish the job with Glacial Cascade.
Das ist Meme, Digga.
Now, remember how Glacial Cascade is that extra damaging spike at the end?
Content,
If you hit a frozen enemy with that spike, it shatters the ice on the enemy and does a devastating amount of damage. This is a really great combo against bosses, as you'll see later. Oh yeah, and I've just been casually mentioning rolling around. Did I forget to mention that in PoE 2 we added a dodge roll to every character? Just press spacebar at any time to roll. There's no cooldown and no limitations. And it even has pathfinding in it, so you don't get stuck on anything. When you When you dodge roll, you're not invulnerable. If something hits you, you're going to feel it. But most things aren't going to hit you.
Was ist ein Diablo-Meme? Erklär.
Wenn man in irgendwas reinrollt.
Dann bleibt man so hängen.
Ja, perfekt.
Now, another important function of dodge roll is it lets you cancel out of any skill at any time. This makes it so you don't feel like you're getting stuck during a long animation when something's about to hit you. It really changes how skills with longer attack and cast times play, and makes dodge roll a very reliable feeling way to avoid attacks. So, that's one way to get out of the way of damage, but the monk specializes in mobility, so it makes sense that he would have some more. Wave of Frost is one of our new attacks with a retreat built right in. You move backwards and throw out a cold attack with a significant freeze. A great thing about this is that it puts you at a good distance to follow up with a Glacial Cascade and do a whole pile of damage.
Also er hatte ja gesagt am Anfang, es gibt 6 neue Klassen und das er erklärt quasi gerade die erste Klasse von den 6 Klassen, ne? Monk.
Ja, genau.
Aber jede Klasse, die du jetzt siehst, kann auch noch geht noch in 3 Unterklassen weiter.
Okay. Das war aber auch schon PoE 1 so, ne?
Ja. Spezialisiert sich dann noch mal ein bisschen in eine Richtung.
Aber diese Quest in Akt 3 sieht schon mal nicht so tedious aus wie in PoE 1.
Another skill you can use to get some extra freeze is
Links und
Shattering
rechts ein
Palm.
kurzer Weg.
Shattering
und das
Palm
ist
is a
fertig.
palm strike that puts a small ice bomb on the target. Kill or deal enough damage to the target and the bomb will explode, doing some damage and a significant freeze. It's a great option against bosses where the wave of ice might not be enough to get that freeze off. But you really want to get, but you still really want to use Glacial Cascade to get the damage bonus. The final skill we're going to show you today is Flicker Strike. It's a monk skill and another skill that consumes power charges. If you've played PoE 1 before, you know what to expect. It's a great finish of a tough boss.
Was war das? Dieser Kettenangriff? Dieser Kettenangriff, ne? Von Gegner zu Gegner, okay, ja.
Master EQ, Bro.
Alpha Strike, ja, okay.
Ja, aber der verbraucht in PoE 1 Frenzy Charges, nicht Power Charges. Könnte ein Metashift sein, ne?
Also diese Schatteneffekte machen mich schon spitz, muss ich sagen.
Nein, die Grafik ist schon echt geil.
Free-to-play.
Ich hätte nicht gedacht, dass das so ein Upgrade wird.
Here we have Blackjaw, former overseer of the Mechanarium. When the Val fell, he was turned to stone and now guards the area. In order to take down this boss, we're going to need all the tools in the monk's arsenal, especially the combo of Freeze and Glacial Cascade. Now, if you're a PoE 1 player, you might think you can't rely on Freeze because there's so many bosses that are immune to it. But in PoE 2, that's changing significantly. In PoE 1, Freeze is a binary mechanic. An attack freezes the target, or it doesn't. What this basically means is that in PoE 1, we were forced to add freeze immunity to many bosses because Freeze just trivialized them. Because of that, freezing was something you could only really rely on while pack clearing, and not something you could use as a core part of your build for boss fighting. In PoE 2, though, all crowd control mechanics now have internal meters that allow you to build up to a freeze or stun, or whatever other CC mechanic that you're using. It's a little bit like poise from games like Elden Ring, though the meters tend to be a lot smaller than those games. When you freeze an enemy, it increases the amount of freeze you need to do to get another freeze, but the increased difficulty bleeds away slowly. More freeze will always let you freeze the boss more often, but this system means that it will not get out of control in party play or interact badly with other CC mechanics, allowing us to let these kinds of mechanics actually work against all bosses.
Das Schwert, was der Boss hat, nicht ein Actual Item von PoE 1?
Sieht aus wie ein Erzählungs bis Felder.
Nee, ich hab nicht im Kopf, wie das heißt. Okay.
diese Effekte, ne? Also, ich habe mir mal Gameplay angeguckt von Sonic auf Level, irgendwie auf High Level in PoE 1. Will man überhaupt Path of Exile auf so hoher Grafik spielen?
Wenn ein PC noch im Gameplay musste das eigentlich ganz runterstellen. Im Solo-Gameplay ist es eigentlich egal.
Take 2.
Kommt halt immer drauf an.
Alright, so this might be a good time to mention that in PoE 2, if you die to the boss, you have to start again from the start. There's no boss cheesing. So
Also ich sag mal, das Level, auf dem du es spielen wirst, wie weit du kommst und sowas, dir kann das egal sein. Du wirst damit gar keine Probleme haben.
Just typing some cheats to... Alright, we good? Back to the stream. Alright. Alright.
Round 2.
Let's go.
Okay, ich hol mal meine Kohle
We
schnell.
have a balance there, like, come on.
Keine Resets für Boss, Boss wird resettet. Und die Arena dreht sich trotzdem.
Sollen wir seine 8 Skillpunkte verteilen?
Dann schafft er den vielleicht.
Das triggert die ganze Zeit schon.
Was denkt ihr darüber, dass sie nicht resettet wird und der Boss auf 100 ist? Was denkt ihr darüber, dass die Bosse resettet werden?
Ja, ist halt schon ein bisschen... Ja, ist schon ein bisschen nervig, aber ich glaube, das wird kein Problem sein.
Jetzt schmeißt
Guck mir das beenden den Boss.
wenn dein Bild scheiße ist, dann schmeißt du dich ins Softgold immer nur wieder rein. Also du musst dich ja nie anstrengen. Stimmt halt 10 Mal. Hat sich die Axt geändert?
Ja.
Ja,
Ach, er musste sie erst vom Stein befreien. Jo, wer kommt denn an sowas?
der Boss sieht halt auch einfach geil aus. So die Skills, die Arena, das ist alles so stimmig.
Sieht halt aus, als hätte der Animation wie jetzt Searing Exile oder so. Wo du auch nicht dodgen musst.
Get the freeze. Oh.
Die Skills von dem Monk werden, von den Klassen immer unten rechts dargestellt und links die ganzen Potions, ne? Und diese 8 und diese beiden Symbole über der XP-Leiste.
Die 8
Skillpunkte zählen.
Okay.
gleich noch verteilen, aber
Verstehe.
Okay, do that. Oh, nice.
Und die sind aber der Nagel.
Das Symbol kennen wir wahrscheinlich.
Boah, diese Feuereffekte, Digga, krank, Mann.
Einfach PoE Remaster.
Was ich aber schon mal gut finde, ist, dass die diese ganzen Icons wie Debuffs und eine Buffs oben gleich gelassen werden.
Noch
Dass du das
Lord,
nicht neu lernen musst.
bis morgen.
Give me a breeze, come on.
Mich wundert eher, dass man bei 15% Telefaction geben muss.
Oh, hey.
12%.
Also die haben ja gesagt, das ist irgendwie ein schnell steigender Effekt, das nimmt aber auch schnell wieder ab. Jetzt nochmal sterben, weil es zu schön war.
Freeze, freeze, freeze.
Digga, aber das wird halt im echten Game niemals so lange dauern.
Oh, shit!
Heftig, wie der Sprecher da auch mitfiebert, ne?
Come on, come on.
Alle guten Dinge sind 3 bekanntlich.
Er hätte einfach Flask Makro anmachen müssen.
Get it. Yeah, so good, there you go, there you go.
After this.
No.
No!
Oh nein.
Okay.
Wirklich? Mit einer?
Digga, stell dir vor, der droppt jetzt Mirror, Digga.
All right, second time's the charm. So, Black Draw has dropped a consumable quest item here called the Flame Core. It's a permanent +10 to Spirit. In PoE 2, we really want to make sure that you feel rewarded for exploration. It wouldn't be much good if we made all these awesome optional bosses if we didn't have something great to find for killing them. One of the things you might find for killing a boss is permanent stat bonuses for your character.
Wonder what Spirit
Das ist Geist 3, ne?
Einfach nur permanent.
Alright, now because this random area is different, Mark will have to find his way to the exit the hard way.
This is, because I died, this is no longer rehearsed at all.
Ach, die ganze Area, oder?
Ja.
Ach du Scheiße.
Wie viele Links hat er jetzt auf seinen Skills? Das sieht ja nicht danach aus, als wären das 6 Links.
Ja, guck, über den Skills, guck mal, dieser rote Knopf da. Das sieht aus, als ob er auf einem One-Link ist. Er hat einen 3-Link, hat aber nur einen Gem drin. Oder das ist einfach nur der Knopf.
Ja, aber du hast ja auch keine Buchstaben in den Skills direkt wie beim 6-Link. Also immer E, B, P, T, F oder so.
Wie schnell wird der No-Links haben?
Ja. Nur den Skill zum Zeigen.
Ich kann mir auch nicht vorstellen, dass du in Akt 3 schon über 3 Link hast.
Selbst in Akt 3 rampt man doch ein bisschen mehr.
This way?
Need to use those killing palms more often, Mark.
Hand aufs Herz, wenn du das siehst, Waka, hast du noch Bock auf Diablo 4?
Die Antwort kennen wir alle.
Also ich habe damals schon gesagt, als Sonic mir das erste Mal erzählt hat, dass Path of Exile 2 irgendwann rauskommen wird, 2019 hat er mir das gesagt, habe ich damals schon gesagt, wenn Path of Exile 2 rauskommt, gebe ich dem Ganzen einen Try. Ich weiß halt nicht, ob ich vorher schon mal reingehen will und testen will.
Aber kann nicht mehr die nächste League die letzte League werden?
I think you got completely lost there.
I have no idea where I am.
So wie das so jetzt aussieht, ne?
Alright, yeah, there we go. Alright, here we are, here's the exit.
Ich weiß auch, die hatten eine Übersicht, ich glaube, da war 3.18 die letzte oder so.
Da war doch Corona.
Alright, let's go right through. Alright. Alright. In order to help with the next area, we're going to call in a sorceress. I'd like to welcome Octavian to the stage, who's going to join the party with Mark, so they can play through together. Alright, 1 second.
Er ist auch komplett nervös.
Here we go. Alright. Sorceress is the new intelligence-focused character in PoE 2. While the Witch focuses more on occult magic and summoning, the Sorceress is themed around pure elemental destruction. Let's have a look at how she plays.
This is the largest soul core I've ever seen. With this, we could power the canal systems.
Könnt ihr mal bitte Vollbild machen? Ich habe keinen Bock, die Typen
It
da zu
isn't
sehen.
charged. There is still latent energy in this machinarium from its ancient operation. These lines in the stonework should lead to generators. You might need to find some more soul cores to spin them up, but everything looks to be in surprisingly decent condition. Maybe the golems have been maintaining it. In any case, it should still function. We'll have to remove that large core from the wall, of course, but that shouldn't be a problem.
We have some skills here you're probably going to recognize if you've played PoE 1 before, but they feel a bit different now. Spark is great in these tight passages since it bounces around.
Oh, das sieht nach einer Klasse aus, die ich, glaube ich, main werde, Digga. Digga, es sieht aus wie mein Arclash Wizard aus Dings hier, aus Diablo 4.
Ja, das zeigen die bestimmt nur aus Versehen.
Boah, Digga, der spielt sich genauso wie mein Arclash Wizard. Guck mal, habt ihr den Nova gesehen? Die Ice Nova? Guck mal, Digga, der ist 1:1.
Okay, die haben sein Bild geklaut.
Digga, ich schwör's die 1:1 Arclash Wizard.
In PoE 2, Arctic Armor is a buff that builds up as you stand still. You can see the ice crystals forming around the character.
Ist auf jeden Fall das gleiche Genre, Lachflash, Diablo und Path of Exile.
When monsters take cold damage, you build up to a 3.
Digga, Psycho.
You have to be standing still for a little while to full effect.
Psycho, vielen Dank für den Resub im 8. Monat mit Tierstufe 3, weiß ich sehr zu schätzen, Leute. Das ist der lauter Alert, wenn man mit Tier 3 subbt. Das ist ein sehr teurer Sub.
In PoE 1, basically every character was playing with no mana pool, so we decided to change the way that reservation works. In PoE 2, there's a new resource called Spirit. Spirit is a dedicated resource that you can use for ongoing effects like Arctic Armor, Heralds, Auras, and Minions.
Hat er jetzt gesagt mit der Reservation?
Du hast keine Reservation mehr, du hast eine neue
Everyone starts
Resource,
with
die
100
heißt
Spirit,
Spirit.
which is enough for most ongoing effects. But if you want more, you're going to need to get some more Spirit, which is available on mods from items and on the passive tree. But if you're willing to give up your offhand slot, the easiest way to get it is by holding a Scepter. Find out more about that in the items talk later on. Now, if you want to increase the cold damage that you're dealing, you can always use Frost Bomb. It places a bomb on the ground that reduces enemies' cold resistance while it's ticking down. It's a great opportunity to use some cold skills before it explodes. And speaking of cold skills, a great skill to use on monsters with lower cold resistance is Comet. This is a new skill in PoE 2 and it hits pretty damn hard. Costs a lot of mana and has a really long cast time.
Ich mach mal die Alerts aus, nicht dass wir nochmal überrascht werden mit so einem lauten Geräusch. Ich glaube, alle sind wach.
To help you out of danger, your character moves back slightly as it casts. It's pretty hard to hit fast-moving opponents, but it's great on tougher enemies that stand still, or even a larger pack if you're further away and you predict where they're going to move.
Ich finde Arc absolut insane. Visuell und
Now,
wie das Skill
if you run
ist.
out of mana casting too many of those, I guess in an emergency you could use your free-to-cast Fireball.
Das mit MTX.
So where did that come from, you ask? Well, this is a great opportunity to explain the way that we've changed caster weapons in PoE 2. Now in PoE 1, caster weapons had a default melee attack that nobody used. And because they had that, they also had a bunch of attack mods that would spawn in them that were useless to a caster. In PoE 2, we wanted to clean that up. So each staff now comes with a built-in free-to-cast spell.
Items haben was nicht?
Keine Sockel mehr.
Früher mussten die Skilljumps da rein, aber die Waffe ist nicht mal bad für den Skillstand.
Du kannst das quasi so sehen, wie das, was wir dir mit den Crystals gemacht haben.
Ah, die Sockels sind jetzt woanders, oder was?
Die sind einfach super. Using it slams your staff on the ground and will allow you to triple cast whatever you cast with your next spell. Now, of course, what you're probably going to want to use with that is something powerful, and Comet is a great option.
What the fuck?
Der Skill, den er eben ausgeführt hat, hat ihn nur einmal gecastet, diesen Ice-Meteor. Jetzt macht er ihn mit dem Stab dreifach.
But it does make sense for Unleash since it's free to cast, and it's something we want you to use situationally anyway. Now, if you're facing something tough, you might need to try out Mana Tempest. Mana Tempest creates a circle of power, which your character literally hovers over the ground. While in the circle, your mana drains, but it powers up all your spells. Lightning projectiles will fall, beams will chain further, and you also do a lot more damage.
Das sieht schon nach Gameplay, nach meinem Geschmack aus.
Sam.
Ja gut, Octavian spielt halt auch PoE so wahrscheinlich ein bisschen anders als der...
So, with all of these skills, here's a great combo to try. First, cast Frost Bomb to reduce the target's cold resistance. Then use Mana Tempest to increase your damage. Follow up with Unleash, and then triple cast Comet to do a truly insane amount of damage.
Ich bin aber gespannt, wie der Defense aussieht.
Das einzige Problem ist, die Sorcerer ist eine weibliche Klasse, ne?
Vielleicht kommt ja noch ein männliches Äquivalent.
Ja, ja.
Wir kennen ja noch nicht alle. Die gab es vorher nämlich auch nicht.
Oder vielleicht gibt's halt Gender Truth, das wissen wir alles noch nicht.
Instead of dropping specific gems, you can find uncut gems. Just right-click on them and pick whatever skill you want.
Die Skills sind nicht klassengebunden.
Was?
Was ist das? Was ist das, Bro?
Das wissen wir, er hat es gerade erklärt. Man kann sich einen Skill-Gem aussuchen.
Ja, das ist basically so, du findest halt einen leeren Gem und kannst ihn halt da drauf hinzufügen und dann ist es halt basically dieser Gem halt. Das ist halt crazy.
Ich schätze euch alle, ich spiele Solo-Self-On. Was ist das denn? Je nachdem wie viel Schockeffekt ist.
Now, let's equip this thing in the skill screen and choose which spell to trigger with it. I think Comet might be fun.
Oh, sieht das...
Now, because Cast on Shock reserves Spirit, we'll need to first disable our Arctic Armor. We have to decide if we'd rather have the extra defense or the extra offense of the Cast on Shock using our Spark. In PoE
Bro, ich bin so aufgeregt, ich muss scheißen.
Basically, if a skill has a short cast time, it will trigger really often. And if it has a long cast time, like
Sag dem Igel, der soll noch warten, es wird spannend.
You can see on the top left corner that there's a counter that shows you how long until the next trigger. Hopefully he shocks the monsters. There we go. And there you have it. That's using Cast and Shock. We've automatically cast Comet whenever we're using our lightning skills.
Ja. Crazy.
Warte, ich setz mal ganz kurz ein Onyx in die Kloschüssel. Ich bin gleich da.
So, we found the generator. Time to power it up.
Ist das Särge?
Ja, das ist doch von diesem Paket, oder nicht, Mann? Dieser Blatt-Packet da.
Ja,
Das sieht so
das
ähnlich
ist die
aus.
Petzerfrist.
Ja,
As power is restored to the Mechanarium, all the constructs are coming back to life. We'll need to fight them on the way back to the charged soul
Der
core.
Boden wird einfach rot.
So, one thing that PoE 1 players might have noticed is this character has both lightning spells and cold spells. That's pretty inefficient, right?
Yeah.
It's a big no-no for most builds because any specialization into cold or lightning isn't going to affect the other element. And generic elemental damage increases are not going to be as powerful as focusing on a single element. Well, in PoE 2 we have another major new system to introduce to solve these kinds of problems. And it starts, oddly enough, with weapon swap. Now, in PoE 1, weapon swap isn't really used much for its originally intended purpose. We imagine that people are going to be swapping in and out between different weapons to deal with whatever situation they were in. People just don't do that at all. And a large reason for that is because it's really, really awkward. In PoE 2, we wanted to solve all of that. The staff Octavian is using here has an ice mod on it that makes it great for when he's using his ice spells. But we would also like to be able to make sure that this build works just as well for his lightning spells. If Octavian equips his previous staff in his second weapon set, you can see that it appears on the character's back. Now, we're going to open up the skill screen. If Octavian opens the skill options for his lightning skills, you can see here that you can choose which weapon sets are usable with each skill. First, we uncheck set 1 from being used by his lightning skills. Then we go through the cold skills and turn those off with his lightning weapon. Just take a second.
If I can remember where they all are.
Yeah. Now, when we use Spark, the character will automatically switch to the lightning staff on his back and then use the skill. And when Octavian uses his Ice Nova, his character automatically switches to his Ice Staff before using it.
Jesus Christ.
You can configure each skill for which set to use, or both if you don't mind which. There's a very short time penalty to switching, so it can be good to leave some skills on both sets if it doesn't matter which weapon set you're using. But we still have a problem, passives. Wouldn't it be nice if we could specialize in both cold and lightning passives on the character? Well, in PoE 2 you can. Hopefully Mark can deal with those monsters while we do this demo. So, we're on the passive skill screen here, and you can see that we are close to both a cold and a lightning cluster. At the top right of the screen, you can see that we have some weapon set specific points to allocate. If Octavian holds shift, he can allocate set 1 to the cold passives, and then allocate set 2 to the lightning passives. Now, check it out. As we use our weapon swap, the skills allocate changes from one build to the other automatically. So whenever we cast the appropriate spell, the character's passives reconfigure on the fly to the correct build for that spell.
Es gibt ja keine Masteries mehr, oder?
Now, you can't do this with every single passive on your tree. Only points granted from skill books will allow this kind of dual specialization. So you're not going to be changing from a mace-slamming warrior into a fire elementalist with a press of a button. But it certainly increases the number of options you have for builds. There's a huge number of places where the system can shine.
Jungs, das war der schnellste Schiss meines Lebens. Bro, ich hab, Digga, meine Arschbacken habe ich einfach so komplett auseinandergehalten, Digga.
Du hast aber Hände gewaschen, oder?
Ja, so gerade mal.
But this one charges up as your energy shield is hit by monsters. We're going to put an Ice Nova in this one. The more energy shield you lose, the more charge builds up. Just get that one equipped there, yep. So yeah, the more energy shield you lose, the more charge will build up until the point you're able to cast the socketed skill instantly. There we go.
Das ist quasi wahr.
So you lose some, so you lose some energy shield, and at just the right time, invoke Ice Nova to cast all the stacked up copies in one instant cast. If you keep losing shield, you'll build up even more charge for even more casts. So it's a great defensive option in an emergency.
Castet das dann von alleine oder hat man nur die Möglichkeit, den Skill dann selber direkt zu lassen?
Ich glaube, es hat selber gekostet.
Ja, ich glaube auch.
Ich sehe mich jetzt schon wieder auf dem Petrified Blood.
Also dieses Dreifach-Casten sieht wirklich geil aus.
Overkill.
And here we are back at the charged soul core. All we have to do now is take it.
Ja, just take it.
Das aussieht, Digga.
Just take it.
Now we just have to remove it from that construct.
Over, what the?
Don't die this time, guys.
Digga, ich guck mir das an, Digga, und denk mir auf dem alten PC, was für FPS-Einbrüche ich hätte, gerade on Stream, ey.
Ja, Digga, safe.
Ja, das ist halt noch die große Frage, wie gut läuft das?
Away from the wall. Oh god. Frozen, no? Good.
Frozen, nice.
Helps that we're both doing ice damage.
Gibt es hier Back-Attack Multiplayer?
Nein. Also PoE 1 nicht.
Okay, weil der Monk greift halt die ganze Zeit von hinten an, ne?
Vielleicht ist das einer die Mechanic oder so vom Boss.
Den Boss dann wieder weg.
Der Damage Multiplier ist einfach wieder hart geleistet.
Frozen?
Gut Flashbang, war blind.
Okay.
Getting real lucky with those freeze procs this time.
All skill.
Ich frag mich, ob der mit den Boss kallen kann mit seinem Skill da.
Nice. Frozen.
Ich denke mal schon. Hier 1 noch, alles klar.
Wow, Digga.
Sieht einfach zu gut aus, um Free-to-Play zu sein, no joke. Okay.
Get away from him, get away, get away. Triangle.
Ja. Minus 500 und hier liegt minus 180.
Minus 500 bin ich auch schon dabei.
Wieso zahlen wir 500 € rein?
Skins.
Support per Pack, das große.
Ja.
So that's Path of Exile 2. These
Wie lange noch,
areas, as well as
Pibolowski?
around half of each of the first 4 acts, are available to play at the 3 demo zones around ExileCon. Now, if you're physically here at this event and you get to play the demo, just remember, it's a different game than before. It's a lot harder. You're probably going to run the first pack of monsters and just die. I really recommend you read the signs. They have good advice on how to combine your skills effectively, and remember, dodge rolls on spacebar, use it. You're just going to die otherwise. So your next question is likely to be, when is the beta? Well, we're in our last year of development, but we're still finishing acts, adding skills, and balancing everything. The closed beta is going to start on June 7th, 2024. Path of Exile 2 has been a long time coming.
Am 7. Juni 2024.
We're just not quite there yet. We're determined not to rush this and make sure we get everything right. In the meantime, there's a lot in store for PoE 1. I'll hand back over to Chris, and he's going to talk about what's coming up.
Das ist doch nicht groß. Wir können es mal open.
Das heißt,
Aber lieber ein gutes Spiel als irgendwas zu früh released.
Hey, da kommt dein Papa.
Ja, ich sehe gerade, Digga.
Ich bin gespannt auf die Liste.
That demo was very hard for them to do in person. Like, I am very impressed it went that well. So, as Jonathan explained, Path of Exile 1 will continue to be its own unique game once Path of Exile 2 comes out. We will continue to update it with expansions and leagues going forward. And because accounts and microtransactions are shared between the two games, and their expansion releases are offset from each other, it's super easy to jump between them and effectively play both if you want. So I'm going off script for a second here and just going to explain this a bit better. Imagine we release a Path of Exile 2 expansion, right? So everyone dives in and plays it. You give it, say, out of the 13-week cycle, you're going to play for, some hardcore players play for the first few weeks, some people play for most of the time. We're going to aim a Path of Exile 1 expansion to come out towards the end of that cycle, say 4 or 5 weeks from the end, which also lasts for 3 months. So because Path of Exile 2 has more content and is a significantly larger game, it will mean that you can play Path of Exile 2 for the majority of the cycle, and then either keep playing if you want to keep playing Path of Exile 2, or jump into Path of Exile 1 when its league launches and enjoy that, either for the entire period or until the next Path of Exile 2 one comes out. And of course, because your purchases are shared, if you were to buy supporter packs or microtransactions in either, they're just available on your characters in the other. Speaking of Path of Exile 1,
Also alles, was du in PoE 1 gecached hast, kriegst du auch in PoE 2.
Ja.
Let's watch the trailer for Path of Exile, Trial of the Ancestors.
Souls such as yours do not go quietly into the night. They thirst.
Ist das jetzt die neue Season, ja, ne?
They yearn to prove
Das sieht auf jeden Fall nach PoE 1
themselves.
aus.
Ja, das schon.
Welcome
Der Marauder.
to the
Ist das eine
halls
Angelruf?
of the
Eine
dead.
Fishing League?
Earn your place among us. Under Hinikore's watchful eye, test your mettle
Das ist jetzt
against
die
the
nächste
greatest
PoE 1 Season.
warriors who ever lived.
Ja, das ist das UI von PoE 1.
Prove yourself in the trial
Das ist doch
of
ein
the
Boss von PoE 1.
ancestors.
Ach du Kacke.
Oh Gott, was ist das denn?
Was, Bruder?
Kriminell, Bruder. Expedition auf einmal.
Oh mein Gott.
Was war das?
In the end, only one can become champion. Will it be?
Genau wenn mein Urlaub endet, ich heule.
Der Gelbe kommt.
In the Kurui afterlife, the fallen chieftains of each tribe participate in a tournament called the Trial of the Ancestors. You will journey to the afterlife, assemble your own team, and enter the tournament to battle those chieftains and earn valuable rewards. As you play through areas in the Ancestor Challenge League, you'll find tradable silver coins. Using them will take you to the Kurui afterlife, where you will encounter Navali, who you may remember from the Prophecy League. Each coin allows you to play a match of the tournament. You start the tournament with a basic team consisting of 3 warriors. The tournament is double elimination, meaning you're allowed to have 1 loss without consequence. A second loss eliminates you from the tournament. Your team will compete against 10 other tribes, and you choose who you're going to challenge next out of the teams left in the tournament. When you start a match, you see the configuration of the enemy team and get to place your team of warriors on the battlefield to challenge theirs. You and your party of exiles will play alongside your warriors. So while this league does have many elements of an auto-battler, you're right there fighting alongside them. During a match, when a warrior dies, they respawn at their totem after a short time. If their totem is destroyed, then they are instantly killed and can't respawn. The team that destroys all of the opposing totems wins. If you're playing a hardcore character though, don't worry. Hinokora, the goddess of death, is watching over you and will restore your soul to your body, so you can't permanently die in the afterlife. Like that. In the Trial of the Ancestors, strategy and tactics are key.
Das ist der Name der
Every unit
Season.
has its own strengths and weaknesses that must be utilized to win matches. The turtle is really slow and really tanky. It's perfect for either defensive positioning to stop flankers or offensive positioning to tank hits for you if you're pushing through the middle. It's not great in the center or flank positions due to its slow movement speed. The Tuatara is a quick and deceptive unit, which is relatively well balanced for all positions. This version of the Tuatara has a stealth ability, which makes it perfect for the flanking position to sneak through enemy defenses and take out unprotected totems from the side. The Goliath of Night is a disruptor unit, and it's ideally placed in a center position to intercept enemies that are chasing you. You can also allocate it to defenses so that it disrupts enemies that are trying to kill your totems by stunning them. So in this match here, we've set up a Tuatara in a flanking position, a turtle on defense to guard our totems, and a Goliath to follow us as we attack up the middle. Our plan is to work with the Goliath to distract the enemy front line so the flanking Tuatara can get through and destroy some of their totems.
Also in der League Mechanic fehlen mir die Mobs, ehrlich gesagt. So diese Density von
Teamwork. Upon winning a match, you earn favor and other rewards. I'll talk about the other rewards shortly. There are a lot. You have a separate amount of favor with each tribe, and you can spend it by talking to their chieftain to recruit warriors and purchase field items and equipment that your team can use. Each tribe has specific specialities. For example, Hinokora's tribe manipulates life and death. Rongo Kurai's tribe is slow and tanky, with an emphasis on stuns and knockbacks. You can recruit warriors from many different tribes and mix and match them together into your team based on what you need. Field items are items that are placed on the battlefield and can be activated during the match to, for example, revive a warrior or heal your entire team. If a field item isn't consumed within a match, it persists on to the next match. But your warriors, their equipment, and your field items are all wiped between tournaments. You enter each tournament fresh. Your success in a tournament updates your overall ranking, which helps you in better rewards and subsequent ones. Speaking of rewards, let's discuss the good part, what you can earn for succeeding at the Trial of the Ancestors. You can tell this gets me excited. Okay. You get a reward as you win each round of the tournament, and these rewards are visible when you're selecting which tribe you want to play against. They'll help inform your decision, as some of them are regular rewards and some of them are exclusive new rewards you can only get from the Trial of the Ancestors. I'm literally tripping over my words to get to the part where I can explain tattoos. Okay. The Ancestors reward you with special tattoos that are not applied to your skin, but they're engraved on your soul. This process can transform what your attribute skills on the passive tree do, basically the attribute highway nodes generally. The regular ones can only be applied to basic attribute skills and allow you to convert your tree's attribute highways into something more useful for you. For example, this one converts a small dexterity skill into movement speed. Each tribe has its own exclusive passive tattoos. This tattoo converts a small strength skill into additional fire resistance. This one converts a small intelligence skill into additional lightning damage. And this one converts a small strength skill into one that summons a minion when you take a savage hit from a unique enemy. But don't go overboard on the number of skills you convert with tattoos, as you'll probably need at least some of your attributes left to equip items. Each of the 10 tribes has an exclusive unique item that you can earn. These rarely show up as rewards for defeating that tribe in a match. Katava's Hunger is a unique majestic plate that you can earn by defeating
Isabel,
the Katava tribe.
die nächste Season am 18. August und PoE 2 Closed Alpha 7. Juni 2024.
It also frees up all those other potential life slots to be something else that benefits your
Closed
build,
Beta,
making
sorry.
it pure upside. This amulet is a unique item you can earn by defeating the Arohongui tribe. It has the powerful effect of causing your flasks to instantly recover life and mana whenever you're low. This could potentially be a powerful panic button, or maybe you want to build around permanently being on low life or mana, so all of your flask usage is instant. If you manage to win the entire tournament, you'll not only receive the reward for the final match, but Hinokora will also give you a choice of 3 additional... Sorry, button didn't work. Of 3 additional exclusive items. Let's have a look at some of the things you may be offered. First up, there are 4 unique items that exclusively come from Hinokora for completing the tournament. This belt, for example, lists a plethora of really powerful properties, both beneficial and detrimental. While you're wearing the belt, the property shifts around every 5 seconds. You never know what's going to happen next. Will you always crit, always evade, never evade? Maybe you're able to find some ways to build around the detrimental effects to create as much upside as possible. Hinokora also has a selection of special, more advanced passive tree tattoos that you can only receive from her. This one transforms a 30 intelligence notable attribute skill into one that increases the level of all of your intelligence gems. You're only allowed 1 copy of the specific attribute combination tattoo on a tree. Hinokora can also award you with a new type of item called an omen. These are small items that sit in your inventory until a condition is met, at which point they are consumed and something happens. In this case, when you reach 25% life, your flasks are all replenished. Now don't worry, each player can only consume 1 omen per combat area, so you don't have any reason to fill your entire inventory with them. This one creates a portal on death. We made it for me. It won't try to save your life, but it will save you some time. This one grants you Soul Eater when you level up. It's definitely worth carrying around for that occasional massive power boost. Omens are tradable, but
PoE 2 wird leider 760 mal geiler als Diablo 4. Stell dir vor, ich habe Diablo 4 für 90 € geholt und noch nicht einmal Season 1 gestartet.
Back in the day, when we had stuff like the Prophecy and so on that let you upgrade to rare forcibly on a specific base type, we had to block the good items by putting crap uniques on the, sorry, I meant upgrade to unique. We put crap uniques on that base type so that you couldn't get it every time. Well, we stopped doing that, so a lot of the uniques that were upgraded in 320 are just the only thing on the base type. So items like this let you deterministically get something quite valuable, hence they are quite rare. The most exciting one, though. Finally, Hinokora can offer you a lock of her hair. This is a very special currency item that lets you foresee the result of using another currency item to craft something. This means, for example, you can know whether it's worth exalting your item because you'll know exactly what the outcome is. Hinokora's lock will slot into your crafting pipeline with powerful consequences. The Trial of the Ancestors offers a wide selection of valuable new rewards as you complete matches and tournaments. We really look forward to seeing what strategies you develop for building, equipping, carefully placing, and playing alongside your tribe. So that's the new Challenge League, but Path of Exile expansions contain more than just a new league every 3 months. In each update, we also augment Path of Exile's endgame and shift the metagame with new gems and balance changes. This expansion is no exception. I'm going to explain the other changes in a medium amount of detail. I'm conscious that we have both new and existing players. For new players, I'm going to try to include some extra content to help make the changes more understandable. You can find out all the detail in the patch notes and other information we'll be posting in the few weeks before release. Let's start with how the Trial of the Ancestors expansion expands Path of Exile's endgame. In December last year, we released an expansion called The Forbidden Sanctum, which introduced the Sanctum Challenge League. This league was a roguelike game set within Path of Exile where you would randomly explore the randomly generated Sanctum once at a time alongside your regular play. You'd pick which rooms you wanted to explore out of several options and accumulate beneficial boons and detrimental afflictions that made your run easier and harder, respectively. Not only did Sanctum work really well as a league, but it also had the potential to be added to Path of Exile as part of its core endgame content, alongside systems like mapping, delve, and heist. Well, in this expansion, the Forbidden Sanctum is back. I've really been looking forward to this one. We're reintroducing the Sanctum as core content in Path of Exile's endgame. You'll initially meet Divinia, the Sanctum NPC, in Act 10. Sanctums are now tradable items that you can find while playing maps in the endgame. A forbidden tome represents a whole floor of the Sanctum, and its rooms can be played back-to-back, or you can take breaks between them and do something else if you choose. Upon successfully completing that Sanctum floor, the next floor is generated as a tradable item with all of the state of your Sanctum run built in. This means that the item stores what boons and afflictions you had, what rewards you've locked in, and how much resolve you have left. You can then either play this floor or trade it to someone else if it feels more beneficial. For example, let's say you manage to lock in a really valuable reward. The example here is a mirror of Calandra, but you'll also notice that... Do I have a laser
Was ist so
pointer?
witzig?
It doesn't work on the board. Okay,
Das da,
one
wo
resolve.
markiert ist ein Item, wo man 1:1 Kopien erstellt.
Ah, Mirror.
This is an example here where the player has a very good reward locked in,
Das hat mir
but a
Sonic schon
massive
öfter
pile of
erklärt.
dangerous afflictions and only one
Das ist
resolve on them.
lächerlich selten.
If you don't feel capable of completing the rest of the Sanctum from this point, then it would normally be a write-off, right? If you gave this to me, no way am I getting that mirror. But you can now trade the Sanctum state to someone else who is willing to pay for the chance to earn the mirror, or lose it. And you can look at expected value in economics, right? It's worth some percentage of that mirror. So you trade it for like 5 chaos to someone, they run it and lose their chaos. Your relics, which act as passive bonuses within the Sanctum, are locked in for the run when you start the first floor and can't be changed for the rest of the run. Speaking of relics, they're now tradable and have been rebalanced around this. To those of you wondering, we have decided against bringing back sanctified relics for now. A complete Sanctum run now requires killing the final boss, Lycia, in both her first and second form. She will always drop a unique relic, and these have been reworked and replaced as we rebalanced everything. An important aspect of the new Sanctum balance is that your primary defenses now have some effect on protecting your resolve. Your armor allows you to mitigate resolve loss, and your evasion grants you a chance to avoid resolve loss entirely, a lot like how armor and evasion work. Your energy shield grants you resolve Aegis, which is a mechanic that works similarly to how energy shield behaves for life. In light of the new defensive opportunities and learnings from the original Challenge League, we've rebalanced the difficulty of Sanctum,
Danke, Kev, für den
especially in
Raid.
later floors,
Leute, checkt gerne
and have
Follow
worked to
Kev ab.
add more monster and
Hast
room
grad
variety
Video
to
gestreamt
runs.
wahrscheinlich, ne?
We've added
Schlaf
new,
gut, Zocker.
we've added
Bis
new
morgen.
boons and afflictions themed around the new defensive mechanics and have rebalanced many of the other ones. Like other optional endgame systems that involve tradable items, players who don't want to play Sanctum can trade their Sanctums to other players in exchange for an item or currency that benefits them more. Successful Sanctum play can generate a lot of rewards. It'll potentially be possible to build characters dedicated to Sanctum running.
Kev, wir schauen uns gerade die PoE ExileCon an. Ist sowas wie Heidelball im Video.
The Ancestors brings to Path of Exile's endgame. We're also introducing 16 new Atlas Keystone passives to the Atlas passive tree. As a quick summary for new players joining us, the Atlas tree is a system that allows you to customize your endgame experience in Path of Exile. As you complete different maps, you gain skill points that can be allocated in the tree. You could use these points to modify the behavior of different content you encounter in in-game maps to make it more difficult or more rewarding, or to behave entirely differently. The system allows you to double down on the content you enjoy and avoid content you don't. Keystones are really impactful passives that totally change how endgame systems behave. Usually they have an element of give and take and require you to come up with new strategies to take advantage of them. Each of these 16 new Atlas Keystones changes how you might interact with Path of Exile's endgame. Let's have a look at some of them now. We will reveal the rest of them before the release of Trial of the Ancestors in a few weeks. Extreme Archaeology completely changes how you play expedition encounters. Instead of placing a series of regular explosives, you now place one gigantic explosive. Every single chest or monster in the blast radius is affected by every remnant in that radius.
Ja, okay, auch so offene Maps ist das nicht richtig.
Erklärt mal bitte, erklärt mal.
Das ist eine League-Mechanik, wo du quasi verborgene Monster freisprengst für Loot.
Und früher konntest du nur einen auf einmal öffnen.
Nee, früher musstest du ganz viele kleine Minen quasi platzieren und jetzt eine große, damit alles ein bisschen schneller wird quasi.
Okay, ja, verstehe.
Aber hast natürlich weniger Auswahl.
Okay, wenn ich das sehe, dann sehe ich FPS-Drops.
Blight is like a tower defense minigame inside Path of Exile. The Cassia's Pride
Ich sag ganz ehrlich, Leute, ich bin overwhelmed.
Significantly less damage from players and significantly more damage from Blight towers. This basically lets you go all in playing like an actual tower defense game. Because we can. Lucid Dreams makes it so that Val's side areas in your maps are no longer corrupted, meaning that you can use currency items to change their mods. That's right, when you encounter a Val side area, the keystone lets you craft it.
Leute, ich verstehe nichts, erklärt mal, oh!
Das ist auch eine League-Mechanik. Das ist so eine Side Area in der Map gewesen, die immer bestimmte Effekte hatte und die kannst du jetzt ändern. Früher waren die immer fix. Manche waren negativer als andere. Jetzt kannst du sie wieder selber rollen.
Sonic, sowas wie bei Diablo 4 Albtraum Dungeon Affixe?
Ja, nur dass du selber rollen kannst. Das kannst
Okay.
okay, sowieso überall.
Okay. Also zum Beispiel plus 15% Magiefund-Bonus oder oder mehr Damage taken von Monstern. Ja, okay.
You'll have plenty of new ways to play Path of Exile's endgame in this expansion. And I should note, in the initial draft of the keynote, I painstakingly went through every single keystone. It took like 10 minutes. But we'll put them in the news to save you some time here.
Ist das noch der einfache Skill-Tree?
In the Trial of the Ancestors expansion, we're shifting Path of Exile's metagame in several ways. The first is by introducing 14 new support gems, which are designed to take existing categories of skills and provide entirely new ways to play them. For full information, check the final gem hovers when we post them in the next few weeks. Let's have a look at a handful of these support gems now. In Path of Exile, war cries usually buff your party but don't directly hurt monsters. The Corrupting Cry support gem turns war cries into damage-dealing skills by making them inflict corrupted blood on monsters affected by the war cry or by your attacks that it exerts.
Das ist aber ein geiler Change für die Builds, die das
The Returning Projectiles support gem causes projectiles from supported skills to return to you, piercing all targets but dealing a little less damage.
Bei den Blitzkate ja, 100% tot
I think there's another example
Du hast jetzt einen neuen Gem, der das selber macht.
Ja.
Pudax, vielen Dank für den Follow und für den ersten Sub, weiß ich sehr zu schätzen. Danke für den Support.
The Fresh Meat support gem causes minions created by supported gems to gain adrenaline, critical strike chance, and critical strike damage for a duration after they're first summoned. So you've got to work out a way to keep refreshing your minions, and it makes them a lot more powerful.
Auch an dich, Shiburi, vielen Dank für den ersten Sub. Moin, vielen Dank. Danke vielmals.
This is particularly synergistic with totems that can taunt enemies, such as
Digga,
Decoy
ist das ein Skin, den er
Totem,
anhat?
or one of the new Chieftain Ascendancy skills.
Wieso sieht der aus wie der Samsung Galaxy Skin von Fortnite?
The Sacrifice support gem works on spells that you either cast yourself or through totems. These spells now sacrifice a percentage of your current life or the totem's life to gain additional chaos damage based on how much life was sacrificed.
Digga, was ist das für eine Klasse, Mann?
The Frigid Bond support gem affects link skills and causes a cold mist to come over them.
Hier schon der Fortnite-Skin.
Beam are chilled and dealt cold damage over time. This creates a new tool for a cold damage over time build, requiring strategic placement of both yourself and your linked ally. I mentioned it was going to get silly. The Locust Mind support gem
sind das zwei Spieler gewesen?
OP and affects attack skills that use bows and wands. Instead of directly using the supported skill, you throw mines in an arc that use that skill for you, targeting your location when you detonate them. In addition to these gems, there are another 7 that we'll be revealing over the next few weeks. In addition to the 14 new support gems, our balance work for the Trial of the Ancestors involved us revamping 2 Ascendancy classes. These are the subclasses that you can specialize in as you play through Path of Exile's campaign. Each main character class has 3 Ascendancy classes available. In the last expansion, Crucible, we overhaul the Pathfinder and Saboteur. This time, it's the Guardian and Chieftain, which are specializations of the Templar and Marauders, respectively. While we were very happy with the theme of the Guardian, it was falling behind the power level and popularity of other Ascendancy classes. Our changes in this expansion have modernized the class and will present you with more relevant build opportunities than before. Brace yourself. Okay. Path of Exile 102. Harmony of Purpose can power up parties using link skills. Time of Need now completely cleanses and heals you every 4 seconds. Radiant and Unwavering Crusade both fully embrace the Holy Summoner theme by giving you access to some exciting new types of minions that are exclusive to this Ascendancy class. We have this picture on the announcement page, pathofexile.com/ancestor for you to scrutinize. Next. While the Guardian's revamp was similar to that of the Pathfinder, the Chieftain has received the Saboteur treatment. To be honest, we were unhappy about many aspects of this Ascendancy class in its old form, and so we have completely redesigned it. You can play it now. It's basically an entirely new Ascendancy class with the same name and art and a new way of approaching its themes. Its new skills let you, among other things,
Wann wird
cause
dieses
enemies
bessere
to
Diablo 4
explode,
released?
turn
Also,
off enemies' fire
das, worüber die gerade reden, ist die nächste
resistance,
Season-Mechanik oder die Season-Changes. Die startet am 18. August. PoE 2 startet Close Beta am 7. Juni 2024. Ich schätze mal, dementsprechend Ende 2024 wird es released. Also das, was du hier siehst, ist PoE 1 noch.
To enter, create a hardcore solo self-found character in the Ancestor League and race to kill all 7 Uber Pinnacle bosses on the same character. Note that unlike the last event we ran, this one is not a ruthless event. We'll post more information
Sonic,
about
ist
the
das jetzt
event and its
Maven?
prizes in the news before release. Best of luck to everyone.
War Maven Dings hier, Sonic, der immer gerufen hat, die? Wer war das nochmal? Wer hat das gesagt? Awakener? Digga, seine Stimme war die heftigste. Wo immer so gerufen hat, so die.
Habe
ich im Chat vorgelesen. Ice-T hat mir geholfen, er hat gesagt Maven.
The Shade series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. Alright, the sarcophagus back attachment imprisons an unspeakable evil that struggles to break free. Nearby monsters
Das sind Skins, die du kaufen kannst?
and enemy deaths provided
Komm halt in den
with feast
Supporter-Pack dann. Mit der 90.
Alter, ey.
The Stygian Waypoint shackles visitors to your hideout in chains, yourself included.
Was kostet das? Was kostet der Spaß?
Komplette Paket 90 €.
Das sind immer 30, 60, 90 € Abstufung, aber du kriegst die Bundles in BDO, das Geld in Coins und das MTX.
Okay. MTX ist was?
Microtransactions.
Skins.
Achso, ja, okay.
The Infernal Portal opens a gate to the Netherrealm when you approach. This prompted a lot of internal discussion about whether using Hellfire to heat your hideout is actually safe and practical. The demon-bound crafting bench allows you to enslave a malevolent entity to craft items for you. Be warned, it has a sharp tongue and will mock you mercilessly.
Das ist der Crafting-Bench, Digga.
Boah, die wird perfekt ins Hideout passen.
Boah, Digga, die Synchronstimme, Digga.
The Nebula character effect causes items you pick up to orbit you in an ethereal cloud of loot.
Boah, was ist das? Was ist das?
Wenn du Items aufhebst, dann schwimmen die so, also dann fliegen die so um dich herum, Digga.
The Disciple series of
Ohne dass die in dein Inventar kommen?
Also, die kommen in dein Inventar, aber das zeigt halt, was du halt aufgebaut hast.
Ha.
I'm gonna put that in the top pack.
Das andere.
The Hero's Landing Finisher Effect
Für
summons
60
a
€?
marble statue from the heavens to execute unique monsters you
immer
defeat.
Abstufung.
You
30,
decide
90,
whether it's the sword or the huge lump of
immer
rock
mehr.
that actually kills them. The Bell Tower Map Device
Achso, es
heralds
gibt
the
mehrere
opening of a
90
new
€
map
Pakete
with a
dann?
peal of bells.
Immer 2.
Start to run
Okay.
out the portals though, and it will reflect your desperate situation. This is fine.
Das sieht cool aus.
So sieht mein erster Überfall immer aus.
The Cathedral Armor Set refracts light
Aber diese Sachen, die man da jetzt bekommt durch dieses Supporter-Paket,
If your life gets low, it
ist das,
responds in kind.
ist das nur visuell? Aber du hattest doch da einen Schmied gerade freigeschaltet, ne? Mit der Synchronstimme, wo ich meinte.
Das ist nur visuell alles.
Achso, das hast du so oder so und das sieht dann nur anders aus, okay.
Ja, genau.
Again,
Got it.
cosmetic.
Alles, was du jetzt hier
The
siehst, ist
currency
nur
orb charge
visuell.
effects lets
Nur
you pick from
visuell,
a number
okay.
of different currency types to
Wenn sie
replace your
vorher
charges with,
ausgesucht waren,
as long
von so
as you've
einem
used that
Eisenhändler.
currency item anytime from today onwards. Some people...
Was ist das? Was ist das? Was schwebt da um dich herum?
Die Currency, die du als letztes benutzt hast.
This effect also causes your
Sowas wie
charges
Wenn du
Exile?
Silber benutzt, ja, wenn du
Exile.
eine der Currency benutzt hast, dann fliegen die um dich rum.
which we all have, right?
Nur für
The
den Flex.
faithful hound pet is a very good doggo, and it knows a few tricks. You can command it to sit, roll over, or play dead.
Okay, ich will dich auf jeden Fall in Path of Exile sehen, dann
And
spende ich
yes,
10
you
Subs.
can pet the dog.
Ich brauch das.
Good boy.
Ja.
These new packs are available right now at pathofexile.com/purchase, and purchases
Das
like
rechte
these
Pack ist
directly
echt
fund the ongoing development of Path of
Wenn du
Exile
das
1
Paket für
and 2.
90 € kaufst, kriegst du auch die
Meanwhile,
für
the
60 und
Lithomancer
30
and
€,
Enchanter
okay?
packs leave the store forever at the
Kannst du
launch
so
of Trial of the
davon kaufen?
Ancestors, so now's your last chance to purchase them. There's
Dann
some good
kriegst du halt
stuff in
noch so
those too.
Currency halt noch
Thanks for your
dazu.
continued support.
Also halt Ingame-Währung kannst du damit
The
so
fun part.
Slash-Tabs kaufen.
For the
oder
last
was.
ExileCon, we developed a special card game that encapsulated the full gameplay arc of Path of Exile over the course of the event.
Was ist das, Yu-Gi-Oh!
Players
Path
could
of Exile?
defeat monsters, progressively upgrade their items, use currency items to craft their equipment, find and run maps, and eventually defeat pinnacle bosses to earn rewards. It was a whole lot of fun, and we've had so many requests to run it again. So this year, we're proud to bring you the 2023 version of the ExileCon card game. And like all Path of Exile expansions, it even includes a challenge league. In your swag bags, you'll have found a box of ExileCon cards, and then a gentleman outside will have asked to purchase them from you for real money. If you have any cards left, you can use these to challenge GGG staff members who are walking around ExileCon as monsters. They'll be wearing t-shirts showing the monster's stats, which include symbols for their attack and defense. Using the cards in your deck box, and those you accumulate by defeating monsters, put together one set of armor, one weapon and shield, or a two-handed weapon, and an amulet and 2 rings. To defeat a monster, the damage on your weapon has to be equal to or larger than the defense of the monster, and the defense on the armor and shield have to be equal to or larger than the attack of the monster. It's that simple. There are some wildcard symbols. It's explained on the rules in the box. Rings and amulets are pretty hard to find, and they can be used for either attack or defense. So to attack a monster, politely approach a staff member wearing the shirt, introduce yourself, and show them the set of equipment you want to use. If your symbols match, then you'll have defeated them, and they'll give you a reward and remove some of your
Werden die Skins dann auch in
durability
PoE
from your
2
items. They do
übernommen?
this by
Ja.
clicking the card, so if you want to keep the card pristine, don't necessarily attack someone with it. It will get damaged in combat. Be careful not to waste your best items on low-level monsters. You're not allowed to attack the same monster twice in a row, so you need to explore ExileCon to find different GGG staff members. You can get maps by defeating monsters marked as gods. Take these maps to the map device to run them and progress through the tiers. On the back of the box is a list of quests. As you complete quests, you can visit the crafting bench on the top floor to receive rewards for completing those quests. While you're there, you can also use your currency items to modify your equipment. I mentioned that this year's version of the card game introduced a challenge league. That league is Delve. Accumulate sulfite and bring it to the Delve wall, sorry for the bad photo, it's hard with lighting, on the middle floor. Each sulfite card you hand in allows you to explore one tile of the Azurite mine. You'll all be working collaboratively throughout the event to delve deep into the mine, fight the monsters that lurk there, and uncover its treasures. And I feel really bad for the poor people that had to hang 3,000 cards on that wall. You may eventually be able to challenge the pinnacle bosses if you manage to get really far in the card game. I'm the Searing Exarch, Jonathan is the Eater of Worlds, and Mark is the Maven. Defeating any of the 3 of us will reward you with a Mirror of Calandra enamel pin. This pin is exclusively available for winning the card game and won't be sold in the merchandise shop. Each person can only receive a maximum of 2 mirrors, and when they run out, we can't give any more out, so try to win the game early. The reason for 2 is a very typical Path of Exile reason, 1 for you and 1 to trade. All right, it's almost time to go and experience ExileCon 2023. Aside from the card game, we've prepared a full weekend of activities for you. There's a busy roster of talks and interviews on the main stage and the streamer stage. We've posted a schedule at pathofexile.com/ExileCon, so you can see what is happening when and where. The schedule also includes information on meet and greet sessions. Our special guests this year include a roster of many of your favorite streamers, but also some game development industry friends we've met over the last 16 years. We're proud to once again welcome the creators of the Diablo series, David Brevik, Max Schaefer, and Eric Schaefer, as well as Travis Baldry, who you may know from Fate, Torchlight, and his popular fantasy books, or even the books he's narrated. They'll not only have meet and greet sessions, but are also participating in an action RPG roundtable discussion alongside me and Eric tomorrow on the stage. In all of the developer talks and panels, ExileCon attendees will be able to scan a QR code on their phone to submit questions for the speakers to discuss in the panel or on the Q&A section of the talk. The Path of Exile 2 ExileCon demo is a large one, and you may want to play it multiple times this weekend. In each session, you can pick from one of 4 character classes, which start at various points throughout the first 4 acts of Path of Exile 2's campaign. Around half of each act is included in the demo, and your session time is limited to 45 minutes before you have to let someone else have a turn. Remember, as Jonathan said earlier, this demo is hard. Read the signs that explain how your skills combine together. Dodge roll is your new friend. You should also swing by the Path of Exile mobile demo at the chill out area on the top floor and check out its progress. It's coming along really well, and we'd love to get your feedback on it. We've created heaps of new Path of Exile merchandise, which is available at our merchandise shop on the middle floor. We've made 17 new t-shirts, which include a few from our community t-shirt design competition. We've created a range of 24 enamel pins. You'll have found a random one in your swag bag. If you approach me and I'm wearing a pin, feel free to swap for the one you've got if you'd like. Happy to trade. You can purchase the others in the shop. As mentioned before, there's also the super exclusive Mirror of Calandra pin that is only available to winners of the card game. Maybe you're able to trade for a full set. There are 2 new posters. One is the Atlas passive tree, and the other is the periodic table of currency.
So viele verschiedene Währungen gibt es.
The incredibly popular Celestial Cat socks, we've also introduced the Chaos Orb socks, better for business meetings.
Ich brauch die Socken.
There's also a range of 4 desk pads to keep your play area tidy. You can check them out at the demo zone. We have a limited range of ExileCon 2019 merchandise available in the store as well. Make sure to hit it up early if you want some of this, because stocks of the older items are quite limited. We have plenty of new merchandise for everyone though, and I think I might have underestimated that. The ExileCon livestream concludes tomorrow with our grand racing finale, where 4 players compete for up to $10,000 and the title of ExileCon 2023 Racing Champion. Afterwards, we're hosting an after party at 8 p.m. at the venue. If you're watching from home, please note that because there are multiple things going on at the same time here, and we can only stream one of them live, we'll be re-streaming 3 of today's talks tomorrow before the event starts. So to be clear, they're occurring here, people can watch them in person, but you can't watch them at that time because we're streaming something else. So we're going to re-stream those tomorrow in the 3 hours where it's way too early to do it in New Zealand, but you can watch them online from the States and Europe. This makes sure that everyone is fully up to date on all of the talks that have been announced about Path of Exile 2 before the important Q&A in the morning where you get to ask the important questions. If you missed out on attending ExileCon this year, we'll be at Gamescom in Germany in August and PAX West in Seattle in September. At both shows, the Path of Exile 2 booth will have our ExileCon demo available to play and a small team of Grindinger Games developers, including me and Jonathan, to chat to, and we hope to see you there. Thanks so much for joining us this weekend at ExileCon 2023. Have a great show, everyone.
Alter, man kann dann auf der Gamescom, kannst du dann PoE 2 spielen, oder was?
Die Kids, Fragezeichen.
Digga, das ist gut, Mann.
Wenn es sich wohl nicht ab.
Das war jetzt die Reaction, also das war jetzt erstmal alles, ne?
Ich war heute erst in Köln, das ist so
Ja,
schwer.
ja.
Also jetzt kommt die Post-Show-Discussion, richtig?
Ja,
I'm Ziggy joined by once again by Nathal, Rise PT, and Nugi.
Zeigen Sie jetzt nicht
Have a bit of a chat about what we've seen so far, and there is a lot to go over. We'll distract you while we wait for the next
Ja, halbe Stunde geht das jetzt. Und danach kommt Rendering Path of Exile 2.
A bit of a chat about some of the things we've seen. Why don't we kick things off with the separation of Path of Exile 1 and 2 into separate games and what that means. What do you guys have any
Alles klar.
thoughts about that?
Also Jungs, gehen wir in PoE 2 rein oder was?
Ist das noch eine Frage, nachdem das, was wir gesehen haben?
Also, meine Nippel sind schon ein bisschen spitz geworden.
Ja, mein Stachel war auch schon spitz.
Bei der Grafik. Was denkt ihr, wie lange dauert es, wenn ich mit PoE 2 erst anfange? Wie lange würde es dauern, bis ich reinkomme?
2 Seasons, denke ich.
Ja, glaube ich auch. Und
Das heißt also, wenn ich jetzt PoE 2 anfange, das erste Mal,
Das wird dich komplett overwhelmen, Digga.
bin ich dann overwhelmed?
Ja, auf jeden Fall, Bro. Du kommst auf dein Leben nicht klar.
Alleine die Currencies hast du ja schon gesehen, hast irgendwie 40 verschiedene und jeder hat so seinen eigenen Wert, was du auch damit, jeder hat auch eigene Fähigkeiten, die du auch anders benutzt und dann kommt dann nochmal die Klasse hinzu mit den ganzen Trees, die ganzen Bosse, Mechanics und so weiter. Also
Und dann auch noch mit den Gems und so, da muss die nochmal combine und so, also das wird schon wild, Digga, vertrau mal. Aber umso besser, dass du uns hast, Bro, wenn du irgendwelche Fragen hast und so weiter.
Also ich glaube halt, wenn du jetzt also von diesem Zeitpunkt an jede League mitnimmst, dann bist du eigentlich so gut wie bereit und wirst keine Probleme haben bei PoE 2.
Ja, das ist auch true.
PoE, wenn ich die Mechaniken in PoE 1 verstehe, dann das sind die 1:1 Mechaniken in PoE 2.
Ja. Es sind einfach nur andere Quests und eine andere Grafik, aber das Core-Game, es wird ja bleiben so. Die
Ja,
Mechaniken
okay.
ändern sich ja nicht.
Exile Moon, vielen Dank für Resub im 17. Monat, danke dir vielmals. Okay, ich mache mir darüber Gedanken. Ich werde mir darüber Gedanken machen. Aber ich habe noch nie PoE gespielt, aber ich werde mir Gedanken machen. Es ist free to play. Umso besser.
Ja, gucken, Digga. 18. August ist halt die neue Season, Bro. Wenn du willst.
Ich mach mir Gedanken. Ich mach mir Gedanken, okay?
Das Ding ist, Free-to-Play ist halt relativ. Ist halt wie in Diablo. Storage-Probleme hast du halt sofort.
Das heißt, du kannst für Storage, also für Stashes payen?
Ja.
Ja, genau.
Wenn du für PoE payst, dann halt für Stashes.
Wie viele Stashes kann man kaufen?
Unbegrenzt.
Also gerade ist auch Angebot, ne? Für Stashes und so.
Wie viele sollte man haben? Wie viele sollte man kaufen?
Ja, es gibt halt verschiedene Stashes, Bro, ne? Es gibt solche Currency Stash Tab, da machst du halt deine ganzen Currencies rein.
Wie viele braucht ein Anfänger? Wie viele muss ein Anfänger kaufen?
Also Mandatory gibt es bestimmt so 6 bis 8, damit du Ordnung hältst, plus so
Also wenn du einfach
2
den
und 20 Lager-Stashes, je nachdem wie viel du halt spielen willst.
Wenn du nur den Betrag wissen willst, ist
Ja.
es im Angebot ca. 35 Euro und ohne Angebot ein Fuffi.
Pro
Und das
Stash.
musst du dann-
Pro Stash.
Nein, für alles, was du brauchst.
Ja.
Das kaufst du einmal und dann nie wieder. Jede League hast du das und das war alles, was du kaufen musst, um das Spiel komplett enjoyen zu müssen. Und dann kommen halt Skins.
Okay.
Ja, man macht das immer am besten so, dass du dir einen Pack holst, wo du halt direkt einen Skin bekommst und dann halt direkt die Währung in Stashes investierst. Also dann hast du direkt einen Skin mit den ganzen Sachen und dann gibt man noch die Stashes.
Aber das ist mandatory. Also ohne die Stashes kannst du fast nicht spielen. Vor allem nicht Endgame.
Du kannst das Game kennenlernen, ja. Aber mit einem Fuffi bist du halt komplett settled. Dann hast du alles, was du brauchst, plus halt noch Skins.
Okay, alles klar. Jungs, danke für die Watch Party. War interessant, sowas mal zu sehen. Ich wünsche euch erstmal einen schönen Abend noch, eine gute Nacht und wir sehen uns morgen wieder, ja?
Ciao, ciao.
Eine gute Nacht. Ja, okay. Schreibt mal eure Gedanken unten in die Kommentare. Werdet ihr in PoE 2 reingehen? Ich werde auf jeden Fall in PoE 2 reingehen. Ob ich in die Season davor reingehe, muss ich mir Gedanken drüber machen. Je nachdem, wie viel Content jetzt in BDO noch anfällt. Also,